See it up there. Okay, you guys are ready.
Thank you. This is a special call meeting of the Athens-Clarke County Board of Election and Voter Registration. Today is December the 7th, 2021, and the time is 4:38 p.m. Due to COVID precautions, this meeting will be live streamed. Adam, would you read the board's oath for us?
I will. I do swear or affirm that I will, as a member of the Board of Elections, duly attend all ensuing primaries and elections during the continuance thereof, that I will, to the best of my ability, prevent any fraud, deceit, or abuse in carrying on the same, that I will make a true and perfect return of such primaries and elections, and that I will at all times truly, impartially, and faithfully perform my duties in accordance with Georgia laws to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you, Secretary Shirley. The next item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda, but we need a motion to amend the agenda because we have received some information that this does not need to be an executive session meeting because if Attorney Pappas would explain to the other members, if they don't know, and the public, the email that you had sent.
Thank you, Chair Fambro. After further discussion with Judd in our office, we determined that the best course would to have this be an open meeting. There was concern that we would need to have an executive session because of potential litigation, but any litigation that we may discuss today, we are not a party. We are basically a complainant to the Secretary of State's office, the election division. And as a complainant, we are not subject to litigation. So we thought the best approach would be to hold this as just a regular open meeting or a special regular open meeting.
Thank you, Attorney Pappas. Adam?
If it's okay with you, Madam Chair, I would move that we adopt the amended agenda, replacing executive session to discuss state election board matter with just state election board matter, if that would be sufficient.
I think that it is. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. It has duly been duly moved to second. So all those in favor, raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. So the agenda is changed to discuss, publicly discuss the state election board matters. Thank you. Are there any public comments? I looked on my email, but I did not see any. If did anyone else see any?
There was one email, but I'm not sure if it was public comment. It was regarding holding this in open session rather than executive.
I saw the end results, but I didn't see that email in particular because I didn't go down. I just started at where Attorney Pappas was answering. So I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Pappas, that we've given enough information to satisfy whatever that person was inquiring about. All right, Adam, Rocky, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, could I just read that email? Then we can
absolutely
enter it into the record and we can move on.
Yes.
How's that sound?
No problem. Go ahead.
Give me 1 second to make sure I'm okay. So the email is from Jacqueline Elsner at 315 Caldwell Circle. It says RE Agenda Item D, Executive Session to discuss State Election Board matter. Our Georgia State Election Board meetings discuss cases from counties during open meetings with the issues discussed publicly. Athens-Clarke County has a case before the State Elections Board at the upcoming December 14, 2021 meeting, which will be virtual and the discussion available to all members and attendees. Executive sessions of public boards are limited to topics like personnel, pending litigation, and other topics such as real estate negotiations. The matter concerning Athens-Clarke County before the State Election Board needs to be discussed in a public meeting, such as today's special called meeting. This matter will be discussed publicly on December 14 to all attendees. Transparency matters. Our Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections and Registration, plus our election staff, conduct our elections with integrity. I ask our board to discuss this matter today for all attendees to hear, not an executive session. Sincere appreciation to each of you. The end.
Thank you, Rocky. I think that we can proceed forward if that is the only comment that we have. And at this point, I would turn it over to Director Soulsby to give us the information that we were to discuss and we're going to talk about.
Good afternoon, board. I'll have to apologize for the confusion, as my plans were to share the documents with you, and because it's not executive session, I will not show the documents, but I will just say A, B. So I'll just say that it seems we've had a voter who is in violation of false swearing on a voter registration and voter ID application. And so on September 7th, 2021, and I'll just say this first, I was contacted by a check cashing company that a person had appeared there with a check and the voter ID that was supplied by our office, provided by our office. And so they wanted to let us know that it was not a valid identification nor a valid voter registration application. I was informed of it on September 7th, and the same day, well, let me just back up. On September 7th, the person came into our office, completed a voter registration application, and requested a voter ID. On September 23rd, the same person came into our office, completed a voter registration application, requested a voter ID, different names. Both applications, two different names. Both applications was sent to the state election board, and it appears that the same person, but different names. And I was told by the state election board that there would be pending litigation, and that the particular person who the person really was would or was already as a most wanted or wanted, and that that charges will be brought against this person. And so the case was turned into, well, the complaint was turned into a case with the state election board. And me, the director of elections who reported it to the state election board, is named as a complainant on the with the case. And basically what happened is the person is in violation of 21-2-417.1. Again, falsifying a voter registration application. But to actually get a voter ID, a person can come in and fill out a voter registration form and swear that they are who they say they are. And then we are to provide them a voter ID if they do not have any of the sufficient forms of ID that are required for voting. So we follow what the law says, and there's no way for us to verify if the person is who they say they are. But based on 417.1, we are by law to provide an ID to the voter if they make a request for one and have sufficient documentation. And once they have registered to vote, that becomes the sufficient documentation, because it does show a person's name, a person's date of birth, and their residence address. And again, the voter IDs are issued for voter purposes, and it is indicated on the ID, but unfortunately, there are some organizations and banks that are accepting this ID as, you know, for cashing checks and a number of things. And I've found recently that there is another ID that has been issued by our office that was used to cash a government check over in Oconee County. So my hope is that there will be more restrictions when it comes to voter registration and voter ID cards, and that this will be changed by the state election board or by the General Assembly. So the meeting is on Tuesday, December 14th, the same day as your meeting, which is why I wanted to have the meeting with you in advance, because I did not feel it would be, I didn't feel it best to just bring this to you in your meeting that evening. So just kind of keeping you guys abreast with what's going on. And the meeting is at 9 o'clock. And the case number is 2021-137. And it's labeled Athens-Clarke VR fraud, and we are far down on the agenda. I just received the agenda like 2 minutes ago. Yeah, we actually last.
Wow.
So I guess it's a good thing that we don't have to go to the Capitol and sit for such a long time. But I will let you know the results of that. I believe it's going to be forwarded over to the Attorney General's office. But just to keep you all with knowing what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sosby. I believe I saw Rocky Raffles' hand. Did I, Rocky?
Yes, I have a few questions. So do we have the privilege of coming and seeing these documents ourselves in the office? Okay.
Yes,
So
you
if a
can.
board member wants to stop by, we can see them. That's our privilege.
Absolutely,
Okay.
but public cannot.
Okay,
So,
that's what
yeah.
I figured, but I wanted to confirm that.
Yes.
And so when we say pending litigation, that means it is a state or federal court charge against this person and not an SEB charge against us or a fine, or I guess I'm
Yes, and if
confused as to what's happening. So is the SEB fining us too, and additionally, hopefully you're following my question. Yeah.
Director Sosme, I think I can respond to his question if that's all right. So our elections office, or the Board of Elections, we are not a potential litigant in this. We are basically the complainant. So Director Sosby would potentially be a witness in what could turn into a criminal matter against the respondent, the individual that came in and filled out a false registration. So I've spoken with James Calloway, who is the director or the deputy chief of investigations with the state elections board, and received an update from him that basically during their meeting on the 14th, what he will suggest is that case where Director Sosby is the complainant, that case be forwarded either to the district attorney's office or to the attorney general's office for prosecution. And the particular code section is OCGA 21-2-561 false registration, which states that any person who registers as an elector under any other name than the elector's own name shall be guilty of a felony, and upon conviction thereof shall be sentenced to imprisonment for not less than 1 nor more than 10 years. So there's no potential litigation at this point where Athens-Clarke County Elections Board would be a party. We are simply just a complainant and a witness to what could be a criminal prosecution for the individual that came in and got 2 different voter registration IDs.
Okay, thank you. And then I have a few follow-up questions. The question is for the director. Is this, was there any mistake on the part of our staff that training could help, or was their ID just so, or there, is there any additional training we can do to stop this from happening in the future, aside from them changing the law?
Only if they had changed the law and it read differently than what I read to you. But
Okay.
there was no nothing to do with training, and no violation on our part.
Okay, we were just doing what the law says, and this is what happened from that. Okay. Yeah, these IDs have always been an interesting one to me. They were promoted heavily last legislative session, and now look at the trouble that these IDs cause. So
Hank?
I believe he's muted.
Just a question for our director, as a little clarification as to how did we catch this person? You said came on September 7th and then came on September 21st. There's so many people coming in. Is it just something someone in the staff remembered this person to come earlier, or was there some other way?
No, the staff did not recognize the person. In fact, there was some different personal differences in one ID to the other. And then the check cashing place contacted us to let us know that there was an ID presented that was offered by our office. So, and that made us pull the applications to look and see what it, what happened, what could we have done to stop it. And then we found out that the same person had come in on the other day. It was two different names, two different staff members who processed it, two different IDs, everything was different.
Well, I'm just missing something here. How did you even connect it with that second application?
Because when it was brought to our attention, that's when everybody started noticing, wait a minute, I remember this, I remember this person. And so, but I don't believe that was that person's name that I processed. So yeah. And we just went back and forth, what happened? Okay, did this person actually come in? And of course they did. We have to take a picture of the person. So yes.
Okay. Do we have video cameras that videotape when somebody's coming in asking for requesting a voter ID and presenting the documents?
Not inside the office.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe Adam is going to have to leave in about 5 minutes. Adam, thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Charlotte, if I may add something, follow up to Hank's question. I believe I was the person who did the very first ID. And I think by that second time he was caught, he had changed his hair. So he made an effort to change his appearance. And I remember clearly the first day he left, and I remember I stood there and kind of laughed because he got on a scooter and drove away, even though he attested he didn't have a driver's license in order to get the voter ID. So, but when you got so many people coming in and out, you don't always remember who is who.
Yeah,
but then when Charlotte got contacted, of course, all of us start putting our heads together and thinking, oh, wait a minute, something fishy is going on here. And that's when she shared the news with us. Because trust me, I freaked out knowing that I was the person who did the first one, even though I followed protocol.
I think that that you all have just shown how excellently you all work and are in tune with doing what the rules and regulations are concerning these matters, that it turned out like it did and as well as it did. And I just want to, just thank you guys again for all that you do, because you all are really a great reflection on the board and on the staff. Thank you. Hank?
Just a quick comment or a question. Is there a process by which we can let our legislator know about what their rules and laws have caused this to happen? So if they want to bring it to the session at a future session, or do we just raise our hands in the air?
Rocky?
I recommend you just reach out to them yourself. Because I know that the mayor and commission has a bunch of asks every year, and it might get lost in that process. I would just reach out to our people yourself.
Or we could write them a letter and all of us sign it and send it directly, to our legislators.
Seconded.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So, is that what we want to do then? We can go ahead and vote on that, suggestion.
I'm wondering, oh, do you mind if I speak?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm wondering if perhaps the director could give the first pass on the draft, since she's familiar with the details of it, because I could write all day, but I don't know the details
Gotcha.
of this, and then perhaps we could just approve the letter or make minor edits at the next.
Next meeting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll get with Lisa and in the attorney's office, and we'll come up with the proper way that we can say how this all happened, get the wording right and everything.
Right, and then we can just sign on to it, and then we don't have the problem of us trying to collaborate and open meetings and
Yes.
blah
Yeah.
blah blah. We
Yeah.
can just approve it,
Okay. Attorney Pappas, do you think we need a motion to get that done by the director, or can we just go with that the way we are right now?
If you all are wanting to have a letter signed by all of you and agreed as to all of you, then I think there needs to be a vote and a motion for that.
For that letter?
Right. I think Mr. Raffle did allude to this, is that Mr. Kadir could reach out to, just as an individual, not as part of the Board of Elections, just as an individual, you could reach out to your local delegation representative and explain to them that this is an issue that they need to look at potentially changing legislation. I don't know that it needs to, if it's going to be more of a formal letter from the Board of Elections itself, then I think we would need to have that discussed in these open meetings, and whatever language we would put in that letter would need to be discussed in the open meetings. There would need to be motions made about it, because that's a decision of you all as a board. But if you all want to individually make your concerns known to your local legislator, then you certainly can.
Yeah. And I think particularly part of my question was, and I know we have to discuss actually doing that in the meeting and vote on it. But my question was specifically, do we need to vote on the fact that since Director Soulsby has all the details, are we able to task her with getting us, the form of what it should look like?
So, Miss Chair, are you saying kind of like a resolution, but not so formal? We direct the director to draft a letter saying, or using her expertise because she's the one with the knowledge, or something like that. Is that what you're getting at?
That's what I was getting at, that we need to make a motion to that effect, and then she would bring it back and we would read it, look at it. If we felt like there were changes to be made, then we would do that, and we would actually do the changes, read the letter to the public, and then we would vote on it to make it official.
Okay, I understand your question more now. I apologize. I didn't understand the meeting.
So,
I'm sorry, Mr. Raffle. I think you can just direct Director Soulsby to provide that information to you all. We don't need to vote on that. You can ask staff to provide that information to you, and then before you send out your version with Director Soulsby's portion of it, that would have to be in front of the public and for your vote and approval, for you all to approve all the language to go forward.
Rocky?
In my mind, we were essentially rubber stamping her letter. That's what I had hoped. That I didn't want to put my own spin on it or anything. I think she's the one with the facts and the information here. And if it's a letter just based on fact of what happened and how we can make it better per her recommendation, I'm happy to just give the old stamp of my name at least.
I think that somewhere within the explanation of just the facts, ma'am, and the fact that we want to bring the legislators' attention to it would be the last part of the body of the letter. It would not be a resolution, but that the board thinks that according to what has happened in this situation, that, you know, there needs to be something in place to keep this from happening. And as a board, we're making this suggestion to you all, something of that nature. Because I'm like you, Rocky. We don't really, you know, we've heard it, but I would like to really have that. That would be the main part of the letter, and our part would be to come in and validate it more or less as a board. Attorney Pappas, is that something that we could do it that way?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I'm following, and I don't want to give, you know, wrong advice.
I got you.
If the direction is just for Director Sosby to send a letter outlining the facts, then I don't think that's an issue. If part of the letter is going to ask on the behalf of the Board of Elections that legislatures look into changing the law, then I think that is something that needs to be discussed amongst the board in public meetings, and not something that simply Director Sosby writes on your behalf, if that answers your question.
Yeah, and it does, and it made me think of one other thing that and when and law is so tight for me when you say law. Actually, more or less for me, I wanted to let them know that this is concerning to me and what they could do about preventing this, and let them figure out whether they need to change the law and they need to do this or that. I would not want to direct them to change the law. So maybe if we had her explanation and a cover letter from us, and I don't want to make this too complicated, but in the cover letter for me, it would be something simple. It wouldn't be the board is directing you. No, we are concerned, and we would like for you all to take a look at it and perhaps figure out how to correct this so that it will not be happening. Rocky, I'm sorry.
I think that's great. I think it would carry more weight and be more impactful if we had an open discussion about what we're directing, or not directing, what we're asking our elected officials to do to make changes. So what I'm thinking is perhaps that it has two parts. So director writes the facts, right? And then we can review that. I'm sure, you know, it's simply just looking at it. And then once we do that at the next meeting, January, we can have a discussion about the second half and take a vote and go from there.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that.
There's no need to rush this. It's just
yeah.
Well, I think we should get it in. When does the next session start? We should try to get it in before their session.
Which means that we should probably take it up at the
January.
at December 4th, just have the discussion at the December the 14th meeting. And
well, I think that we need to give her some time to write that in a week.
Because that's kind of quick, isn't it?
Yeah. And then we're into the holiday and we can think about it.
Yeah.
And then come back.
And that's great. That's great. So that's what we're actually doing today. So we need not take a vote, but to allow Director Sosby time to get those facts down on paper, and then we'll come in and discuss it at the January meeting. Sounds like a winner. Okay, is there any more discussion on the subject matter that we've discussed here today? Particularly the subject matter that we've discussed today. Anybody? If not, I'm gonna do the announcements. Our December regular meeting will be Tuesday, December the 14th, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. It will be live streamed. And our January regular meeting will be Tuesday, January the 11th, 2022 at 4:30 p.m. And I'm just assuming that it will be live streamed. I'm hoping it will not, but I'm just assuming. Are there any comments or any more announcements? If not, I'll entertain a motion for us to be dismissed, to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a second? We have a second to adjourn the meeting. So the meeting is adjourned, and thank you, everybody, and have a great Christmas. Well, we'll see each other next week, won't we? Won't jump the gun. All right, guys, have a blessed night.
Good night.